How do I learn to love oneself more or myself more? How does one learn to love oneself more? This is something I was taught, of course, or read, of course, or just some great teachers have helped me along the way. I say this in almost every video because this is not information that just, or wisdom that just came upon, right? It's just this was something that was given to me as a gift, right? The teachings were a gift for me. And the only reason I started doing this was to express, even if it's the one person in the world or none, just to express what it feels like and the gratitude I have for the teachings I've been just gifted. Okay, I've been gifted with these, and I want to share them. That's why I'm here. So the question is almost always who and what, and who are we talking about? Who are we talking about? And the teachers always throw this back at me, and they say, who is it that cares? Who is it that's sitting there that cares? And what are you? And all these questions, all these amazing questions. And how do you love oneself more? Yeah, and so they ask me again, who's oneself and who's the one. So let's pass all that for now, okay? How to love oneself more. And I always go back to childhood. When I'm feeling judgy of myself, judgmental, and I'm ready to judge and attack myself for something I did wrong. Man, Jeff, why'd you do that? You're an idiot. That's the dumbest thing you've ever done. And you keep doing it. You just keep doing it. You don't even know what you're doing. It is so, and the mind is just attacking and just anger, bringing back memories and going to the future and projecting and God forbid I'm in the present moment. No, 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 no. Well, let's get out of that moment because there's so much happening in the future that you need to deal with now. Because you messed up, right? You just messed your whole future up. How do I love myself more? How do I love, in this case, oneself, being myself more? Forgiveness of that. Forgiveness of that. Forgiveness of the mind's rambling, right? For lack of a better word. And how did I get to this place where I made this mistake? How did that even happen? This is the best question to ask. How did this even happen to me? Why am I doing this over and over again? And this is like the ultimate bailout on a responsibility. It can feel that way. But let's just look at it logically and put emotions and feelings aside for 1 second. I was brought into this world, raised, right? Wonderfully, thankfully. But in that time, a lot happened to me, right? Some good, some bad, some tragic, some happy, some sad, everything, right? And how I reacted was taught to me in many ways. And I remember a lot of this. In meditation, you remember moments you're taken back there, right? You're shown it's like in a Christmas Carol. You're shown something, and all of a sudden you're there, and then what is this about? Why am I here? And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh man, this is where this feeling comes from. The source, the root of this, like deep hypnosis, right? Subconscious stuff is boom, there it is. And then if you're just aware of it, there it is. So I'm like, that is why I do that. What, man, I should be angry at my parents for that. No, not at all. They did the best they could, right? So just like I'm doing the best I can for my kids. I know that. And I feel so wonderful about that. And it makes me feel so much better every day. It really does. So as I forgive my parents, right, for something they didn't know they were doing that was making me act like this now, because how could they have known? Because they were doing the best they could based on their upbringing, and their grandparents did the best they could for their parents and great grandparents, so on and so forth. So how can I be kinder to myself? How can I forgive myself? And how can all this work out? Because I go back to that I am just this kid in some cases acting out in a moment where I get triggered. Someone says something to me that was something that I saw said or I heard when I was younger or very recently, and that caused pain. The pain comes back, all of it, not some of it, all of it. And I am angry. I'm enraged, perhaps. And this happens to my wife all the time. She gets a little angry about something or a lot, right? Which is fine. And all of a sudden, she's like, it wasn't all you. It was all of it. And I'm like, yes, that makes more sense. It makes, because the reaction, it was justified, right? I'm like, okay, this is happening. But it wasn't just me, it was all of it. So how can I forgive myself, right? I could forgive her because of that in many ways, and I could forgive a lot of things because of that. So how can I put back and turn the mirror back on myself and look and say, I forgive you too. Listen, you go through A Course in Miracles, do all the wisdom teachings in the world and study for the next 30 years, and you are unwilling to forgive yourself. You have an uphill battle. right? Uphill climb with a giant lead backpack on your back. It's going to be hard, perhaps harder than it could be if you start forgiving you, or oneself, which I love. I love that phrase. It's part of the channel name. So forgiving oneself and being okay with oneself and living with oneself all revolves around forgiveness for what, in some cases, was beyond your conscious control, because there's a program running, like in computer programming. I'm a programmer in this life, and I like to refer back to programming because all this input was brought in, right? And the output thus far has kept us alive. So I'm alive right now. So mind, ego says, act and react this way because this has worked. Don't you change it or I will lash out. And that's where we get into trouble. So I've been there so many times, and it's so fun to observe it because now you can see it and look at it and touch it and feel it and know that it's something running. It's a thing running, and you aren't always running the show, right? In fact, some say you're not at all. But different conversation. So again, as always, I want to thank you all for joining me today. I love you all, and I will see you next time. Bye.